episode of a series of candid interviews to vegan veterinarians. Um, as you can see, this is a Zoom transmitted meeting between myself, Daniela Castillo, and other vegan veterinarians. Thank you for being here, Debra. I really appreciate it. As I said, my name is Daniela, and I am a licensed veterinarian in California and Mexico. I have been vegan for 12 years, and I am part of our group, Our Honor. The goal of this meeting is to highlight the hard journey of individuals like Debra in the veterinary profession as vegans and their important accomplishments in the veterinary field or in the animal rights movement. I personally am doing this because I want the word vegan to be more mentioned in the veterinary field, so it becomes more of a norm in the near future. And I also want to present different vegan journeys from other veterinarians and hopefully inspire more veterinarians to consider going vegan for ethical reasons or more vegans to go to veterinary school.
Yes.
So let me introduce you, beautiful Dr. Debra Voulgaris, a really good friend of mine in California. Dr. Debra Voulgaris is a native New Yorker who earned her Bachelor of Arts from the State University of New York at Stony Brook and her Master's of Arts in Biological Anthropology. Ooh, I didn't know that. Dr. Debra then went to earn her doctorate in veterinary medicine from Ross University in 2005, completing her final clinical year at Louisiana State University and then completing an anesthesia internship at the University of Georgia in 2006. I was there, UGA, in 2005. Wow. While back in New York and working at a private practice, she became certified in veterinary acupuncture through the International Veterinary Acupuncture Society in 2008. Dr. Voulgaris is also certified in canine rehabilitation from the University of Tennessee, veterinary twin, I hope I pronounced this, from Chi Institute, and medical ozone therapy from the American Academy of Ozonotherapy, and is a graduate of the Pitcairn Institute of Veterinary Homeopathy. She has studied food therapy, nutrigenomics, veterinary orthopedic manipulation, and has professional interest in nutrition, cell function, oxygen utilization, mitochondrial function, metabolic flexibility, and longevity.
Nice.
She has published peer-reviewed articles and recently started a podcast called I love this name. Vet in the City, Pet Health Chat. I love that. So, as I said, the goals of our meeting is to highlight this journey of people like you and show the world we're here and our community is growing and getting to know each other. Mm-hmm. So, I'm going to start with my first question, and I'm just going to ask you, I'm going to go straight to it and ask, how was your experience in veterinary school?
So that was a very mixed bag. You know, it was the best of times and the worst of times. You know, you meet people and you are pushed in ways that you never think that you'll survive it, and you do, and you learn so much about yourself. But at the same time, there was a lot of trauma, you know, and I think this is true of any vet school, but I was in a third world country. I was in a different country. And so you leave everything you know behind. You give up your apartment, you give up your job, you do, you know, all of these things. You say goodbye to your family. I'm sure I don't have to tell you what that's like. And you go to the unknown. And it was very different than the world that I was used to. And, you know, culturally, it was very different in their treatment of animals. And so the first thing I remember is getting picked up from the airport and going to where I was going to be living for a while. And you saw a lot of animals roaming around. They were free roaming. You know, animals were not in anyone's home. They were outside roaming freely, or in many cases, roped to a tree. And I remember being absolutely stunned by it. I mean, you could see dogs that were limping along the side of the road because you know that they had been probably hit by a car or something like that. And that's where you're going to be spending the next few years. And it was really, you know, just a shocking moment. And a lot of people turned around and went home. You know, it was just too much for some people. But, you know, I was 32 or 33 at the time. And me and my friends, we all said, we had this mantra: failure is not an option. You can't go home. You have to survive this. And so there was a little bit of pressure about, you have to get through this. And early on, I remember, I met some wonderful people, and I ended up traveling through vet school, supporting them. They supported me. And so they were amazing. They'll always be so special to me. But I remember seeing dogs that were being rounded up, and they were going to be, I have my dog here. She's trying to get on my
visitors.
But I remember, I remember looking down, because Ross was sort of on the ground level, so you could see what was going on from above. And I remember they were getting stray dogs, and they were going to be killing them. And that was going to be for your cadaver lab. And, anatomy is one of the first classes that you take. Your cadaver labs, dogs, are the first semester, and the donkeys, equine, are the second semester. And they're killing them for you. And I remember being devastated by this. And so were a lot of people, but I'm a very emotional person, and I'm very outward about how I feel. There weren't many people that were visibly, I'm sure they were inside very upset. I was the one that had to leave. I was the one that had to walk out on that first day of anatomy. And it was really traumatizing. But when you think about, how did I get through it? I don't really know how I got through it. You take one step at a time. And you also know that if you don't get through it, Ross, I'm sure you may be aware, but Ross University is really like the last option for a lot of people that want to become a vet. This is not Cornell. It's not UC Davis. It's not, this is, it's easier to get in, but it's harder to stay in. And so you kind of have a choice where either you go through it or you don't. And I had to get through it. And so that was really hard. I don't want to cry because I go there. No. But it's like when I knew I was going to have this discussion with you, I started thinking about it all again.
Yes.
Like you kind of were like, how did I do that? And then of course the terminal surgeries.
Yeah. It sounds so similar to my experience in Mexico, like everything that you're describing, that honestly, I couldn't actually answer this question too, because I would cry. And I feel like, no school inside of the United States will do the things that we did, but it sounds exactly what I did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I kept saying myself, you need to go through, because then you're going to be able to help animals,
exactly.
More animals with your hands. And then in the future, speak up,
yes.
louder.
Yes. Yes. But without the support, and especially, I have so much respect for people that do speak up. I was alone on an island where nobody cared what I had to say.
Yeah.
There was no support. There was no, if you can't handle it, it was looked at as weakness.
Yes. Yes. And all you want to do is graduate and get out of there,
Yes. And it's not weakness. Being an emotional person is a beautiful thing.
No, you're strong. We did it,
right? Like even with that kind of pain, it's pain, and you still are able to get through that. And so that says a lot about you, because you have the intellect, you have all of those things. But people that don't feel anything, and I honestly think that most people did, but they weren't able to express it or whatever. But, the terminal surgeries were rough. They were really rough. And I remember going to the head of surgery, and I said, can we do it differently? Can we spay every dog on the island? They had us doing these crazy surgeries on our poor dog, things that would never be done unless you were a surgeon. But one person would get to do a spay. And it's like, I walked out of there never having done a spay. So I said, why don't we start a program where we can do it for free. We can do spay neuter programs. Everybody would get to do lots of spays. And the person that was in charge of surgery basically said, I hate killing animals, but, write me up a proposal. And I did. And she just, ignored it. And then at that time,
maybe somebody that was the precedent, for someone else.
Yeah. And all of my friends were behind me. We were all like very upset. We were trying to figure out, how can we save our dog?
Yeah.
It was awful.
Yeah.
So, and part of me says, are they trying to prepare you for the life of a veterinarian? Are they trying to make it so it's not, you get tougher. And, you know, when you have these very sad cases, and we all do, you know, that you are able to stay composed, and you don't, you know, you're able to handle it better. If that's the, I don't know that that's the intent behind it. My hope is that at least they were trying to do something good, but I don't know that that was it. I think they were just, you know, doing their job, and they were blindly going through their day.
Yeah.
But it was hard. And honestly, when I think about the trauma, it's not just vet school. It's not just going through the courses. It's not just that. I mean, I've seen horrible things. I did, you know, as you were saying, I did an internship. I actually did 2 internships, and I did an anesthesia residency. Okay. I spent, in addition to, you know, my time on the island, you know, I spent, I don't know, five different universities after that. And I've seen some nasty things going on with research dogs, and people dragging them across the floor, and people doing all kinds of crazy experiments that were pointless. They were useless. They weren't even, not that you should ever do it, but it didn't even help science. You know, it was just some crazy, I saw a guy strangle an emu once because he was afraid of him. The bird didn't do anything to him.
Right. How do we survive these things, right?
Right. So, you know, I think there's trauma, you know, in all of it. And I think it's systemic,
Yeah.
you know?
It's systemic for sure. And that's what we're trying to combat here as you know, as vegans. We are boycotting all these treatment or companies or systems, you know, that have animals in these conditions. So
Yes.
in regards to that, how when and how was the moment that you decided to go vegan? I'm always intrigued with that.
So I was here in California. Of course, I was here in California.
California.
So it was 11 years ago. And I had been a vegetarian, a flexitarian. I was doing more than most of the people I knew, but I wasn't doing enough. I didn't know at the time that I wasn't doing enough. I was like, well, I'm not eating animal. I'm not killing anything. That's, you know, that's what we hear a lot. Well, you're not killing anybody. Why can't you have eggs, or why can't you have dairy? Because you are killing. You just, it's not as obvious.
Yes.
So anyway, I had a client and she knows who she is, Mar. And she had a vegan dog that was coming to me for rehab, and he was 17. And she is very, very committed vegan. And she would, you know, go to anybody that would listen and say, hey, why are you not vegan? Why are you not vegan? And she said to me, why are you not vegan? And I said, well, I'm vegetarian. And she said, why haven't you gone all the way? And at first I was kind of putting her off, like a lot of people do, where you're kind of like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to know about anybody suffering. Please don't tell me, you know. And one day she said something to me. She gave me a whole bunch of things to read, and she gave me some documentaries to see, which I did. And then one day she said to me something that just clicked in my head. She said, you know, you eat eggs, but you know, that's just liquid meat, right? And there was something about the way she said it, and that statement. And literally it was an organic shift. I never looked back. It wasn't like I had to try to go vegan. I was just vegan. And so that was 11 years ago. And that was it.
I love this story because he gives us hope, you know, like vegan activists, go for your, you know, vegetarian veterinary. I didn't know this story. I love it. Okay. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So what is the favorite part of your career so far?
You know, I love the honesty. I think that as I'm getting older, and as I'm, you know, spending more and more time with animals, I'm preferring my time with animals to people for sure. There's something so honest about it that I'm, you know, there's this interaction that's taking place, and it's so honest. I think that that's what it is. And this unconditional trust that so many, I mean, some animals are nervous when they, you know, they're not maybe trusting you right away. But for so many of the animals, and especially as we develop a relationship and as we get to know each other, because as a holistic practitioner, as a rehab person, I see sometimes the same patients every week for years at a time. So I get to really have relationships. And that's, I think, the best part, the honesty and the trust that and the understanding between us. I think that's what it is.
That's some between us, you mean between animals and you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I cannot say the same thing as a high volume surgeon. I feel like that's part of why I don't like it. Maybe I should go to rehabilitation.
That's great what you do.
That's so beautiful. And our career is so like we can always do something, different in
Yes.
in our profession.
Yeah.
But I love that. That's giving me ideas for sure. So why did you decided to start your podcast, which I love, by the way? I've heard a few of your.
Yeah, I think it's because I want to advocate for animals, and I want to also advocate for the people that are caring for them. I think that a lot of people don't know, they're hearing things and they don't understand things, and it's not their fault. I don't know that they always get the right information, or maybe sometimes I know that there are a lot of veterinarians that are running around and have 15-minute appointments. They don't always have time to sit down and talk about things like diet and chronic disease and, things like that, where I'm just a very honest person. I'm from New York
Yes,
City, right? And I'm
I
from a
love that.
it's like I say what I think. And I think that people need some guidance sometimes, and they need to hear what the truth is. And so I decided to do it during, with COVID. I think a lot of people were deciding and kind of shifting and doing new things. And it was during that time that I decided to try and do some advocacy, but in that way, and I have people listening in Germany. I have people listening in Nigeria. I mean, it's like I'm getting to talk to people that I would never get to say anything to. And it's really like the love of our animal companions. Everybody from across the world, people are tuning in. So it's really like we're the same.
Yes, I love that. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
we're educating people to be better guardians, or
Yeah.
you are educating people
Well,
to be better.
you are too. I mean, but that's what it's about. It's like if somebody who's taking care of, their animal companion has a better understanding of what they need to do, then we have a better outcome potentially.
Yes.
So that's why I
And
just
the majority of veterinarians don't have the time to go as long as you explain, everything so detailed about these, medical conditions that most of our companion animals suffer, and like the typical questions, that people have about their animals. That's so lovely and necessary,
Yeah.
So what is it that you die to tell to your colleagues? If there was something that you wish everybody's tuning right now.
I think that I believe that people are good. And I feel like sometimes I wasn't vegan my whole life. I was like a lot of other people, where I was like trying to do the right thing, but if it was not convenient for me, I might not choose to do it. And I think that all of us, when I was in New York, I didn't have as much information as when I came to California. There was a different group that I was surrounded by. I was not getting the same information. When I came here, it was like, boom, I was hit in the face with it. So I think that people are coming from different places. And, but what I want to say is that if I know that you're going to ask me about the oath. I was looking at this oath, which we'll talk about that in a second. But part of the oath says that you're vowing to protect animals. It's not saying protect dogs and cats only.
Yes.
It's saying protect animals. And if you are going to be true to your oath and not violate it, then that means that you have to be vegan. That means that you have to stop paying people and stop paying industries and companies to kill and torture animals for you, and you have to stop supporting them. You can be really, really smart, and you have to be willing. And it's not, I remember when I was, becoming vegan too, it's like, you don't want to shield your eyes. Everybody wants to shield their eyes. I don't want to see suffering. You don't want to see suffering. But sometimes you have to know about it so that you can actually do something about it. And what I would say to them is, you have to wake up. You have to stop being a hypocrite, and you have to stop being a speciesist, because this is not just, they're my family. I have dogs, I have cat, my family, I love them. I couldn't love anybody any more than I love my animals. They're with me, they're my family. But, there are other animals in the world that are deserving of the same compassion. and kindness, and they want to live, and they need to wake up because they're the ones that have to protect them. And if they
Yes.
don't do that, then here we are.
Who else?
You're
Yes.
exactly, who else? It's like,
Yes.
do you really have to convince AVMA that it's wrong to do ventilator shutdown? Like, you have to make them understand why that's not humane.
Yes. Yes. I love that you referred to the to our oath, you know, even though there's going to be a question about it, but it's true because it's something that everybody, you know, how do you say, sign or, you know, swear to. And with those words is there's, you know,
Yeah,
different interpretations, but it's true. We need to all not support all these industries that exploit our patients.
that's right. That's right.
So how do you visualize a future vegan world? And I want to ask this to everybody because I feel like between all of us can maybe have a vision in common and make it come true, and, you know, remove all those myths and misconceptions from people, you know. But I want to hear your, you know, your answer.
You know, it's like what you know, once you know, and you can't go back. I actually feel like it's the dark ages, you know, like when you're killing and when you're slaughtering animals and they're being, you know, put through that. It seems like you know, a nightmare. It seems like the dark ages. What I see is a time when everybody looks back on that and says, I can't believe that ever happened. You know, where it is like there's compassion and there's knowledge. I mean, you know, you know, with knowledge is power. It's like understanding that being vegan is healthy. It's healthy. I mean, I'm 55 years old. I've been a vegan for 11 years. And I tell people my age because I want them to know that's part of my advocacy. I
Yes.
want them to know that I'm strong and that I'm healthy. And no, my B12 is fine. Thank you very much. I get enough protein. Thank you very much. You know, these are things that, like, I want people to understand, because I know that when I was growing up a long time ago, you know, people used to tell me, if you don't eat that you're going to get sick. If you don't eat meat, you're going to get sick. If you don't drink your milk, you're going to get sick. And what I want to tell you is that that's not correct. And I want people to, you know, of course, I want to live in a loving world. Of course, I want everyone, all species, to be treated with compassion and respect and be allowed to live their lives free of, you know, people intervening and exploiting and doing all of those things. But I'm hoping that, you know, there'll be, and I think there is, I do think that, you know, the mindset and the consciousness is evolving a bit. Where you look back on it and you go, I don't, it took a long time, but I can't believe like that there's no going back now.
Yes.
So that's what I see. I see like kindness and compassion and respect and, you know, and health and a happier planet. So yeah, that's what I see.
We need to show them there's, you know, a light at the end of the tunnel. And
Yes.
good job. You do look like you're 25, lady.
But you know, sometimes it's like you want to be healthy, you know, you get to a point, and I can tell you because you're younger, but you know, you start going into your 50s, and that's around the time where things start showing up. And I've seen a lot of people that started really going downhill, you know, 50, 51, 52. It's like you have to, even, I mean, I want everybody to do this because of the animals, right? Like that, and the planet, but animals first. For me, it's animals first. But also, if that's not enough for you, like you having longevity and being vital and being, you know, strong and happy and waking up in the morning and actually feeling good and not being in pain. You know, I
Yes.
see a lot of that too.
There's so many reasons, you know, but you are an awesome example of health and beauty and, you know, youth. So you're doing an awesome activism, you know, besides being a vegan veterinarian, of course. So now, what would you change from our veterinary oath?
So I actually think the whole thing needs to be changed.
Okay, I love that answer.
I mean, it's the wording, you know, I went over it again because I knew we would be talking about this. And it's a very confusing oath because it starts out saying that you solemnly swear to use your knowledge and your skills for the benefit of society. That's the first thing it says, is for society. So right there, I'm like, I understand society, of course, is important. I'm not saying that it isn't, but the first thing, the first most important part of this should be for the animals, because we're the safe haven for them. That's first and foremost. We're the ones that should be protecting them. That's our job, you know, and healing them and all of that. That's our job. But then it goes on for the benefit of society. And then it says, you know, through the protection of animals, relieving suffering. And then it starts talking about public health. And then it starts talking about medical advancement of knowledge, right? It's kind of contradictory, because if you're trying to advance medical knowledge and information, then maybe research animals are a part of what you do. And that's not, you know, consistent with what it's telling us, you know, and also protect animals. Public health is not an automatic, let's protect the animals. Public health is let's protect the people, you know, protect the money. That's a money thing. So, you know, I feel like it's a very contradictory thing. And also then it talks about ethics. I think it's very ambiguous. I think that there are different levels of what ethics mean to different people. And I think more importantly, it's the enforcement of it. Like, I see a lot of veterinarians that have done really terrible things and they don't treat animals well. Most of them do, but I've seen some bad things, as I'm sure you have too. And how is it enforced? Because I don't think that it's ever enforced. So I think that, you know, the emphasis being more on animal and the word compassion maybe being used, that should be the first part. If you want to talk about other things, then that's secondary. But the first part of that should be about compassion for animals and their sanctuary with us as veterinarians. And then the other stuff can be discussed, but that's first. That shouldn't be third, fourth, fifth on the list.
Yes, less anthropocentric and more
animal-centric,
you know?
Yeah. So, you know, I just think the whole thing needs to be rewritten.
I know, I totally agree. And I don't know if I did it right, but I try to like share with everybody else our oath. I don't know if it went well because a lot of people don't actually know our oath, and I'm trying to show it, you know.
Well, that's the other thing. When you do your white coat ceremony and you take your oath, everybody's just, you know, kind of repeating what somebody else is saying. I don't know that it's a process where people are really thinking about what they're saying. I know I was just excited to be in a white coat for the first time. And then you look at it and it's like a little confusing.
Yeah.
Am I a public health servant, or am I in care of the animals themselves, which I think is really more important than anything else.
Exactly. I love that. I love that answer. So I think I have 2 more questions for you. So what is your least favorite part of veterinary medicine, and how do you cope with it?
I don't like seeing suffering, of course. I see a lot of, in what I do, because I'm a holistic practitioner, it's different for you. You and I do the opposite thing, but yet we're doing the same. But I see a lot of chronic illness. And I know that in many cases it could have been avoided. I love the advocacy part. I love the education part. I think that that's probably, you know, my strongest, you know, component of advocacy, is that I'm constantly trying to, you know, instill and make people understand and meet them where they are, you know, so that they can understand. I'm not trying to shove anything down their throat. I'm trying to be gentle about it so that they don't shut down on me. But I think the hardest part is, you know, it's the chronic illness. It's sometimes when people aren't willing to do the things that need to be done. That's hard. You know, when I see a lot of patients where I look at the record and I know that something was done wrong. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't throw anybody under a bus. You can't be like, well, they shouldn't have done that. You know, certainly can't say that, you know. So, you know, I think that, again, there's a lot of systemic stuff. And I think for veterinarians, not just vegan veterinarians, but veterinarians, I think that there a lot of them that are not going in the direction of what you're doing. I mean, you guys are on the front lines. You and Dr. Heath, you're on the front lines. And for others that are vegan and also trying, I think that a lot of people are secretly traumatized by it. I think that there are some people that they push it down more. But I think that, I think that they have a really hard time. And I think that it's a really hard life for a lot of vets as well. But I think that sometimes, animals don't get the care that they needed, and you don't get them in time. And I think that that's the hardest part for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But on the other hand, when, every once in a while, there's a lot of good things that can happen too. And so, sometimes we get animals walking that were not ever, they were going to be euthanized because they couldn't walk. There are a lot of good things that happen also. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So is that your way to cope with the negative? Like put the positive, over the negative?
It's definitely one of the ways. I mean, I think that I've learned a little bit. It's still hard for me. I don't get used to things. If I think that there's an animal that's suffering, I get anxious until I can do something about it. It's not like I'm home. I'm not sleeping that night. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, when I can yes. So yes, I think that when I can finally get a hold of them and start to do something, that's really helpful. But I think that over the years, I have learned to be a little bit more able to compartmentalize. Like, it's not going away, but I have to still be functional. You have to
Yes.
still be functional. You still need to be able to do your job. And so I am able to kind of breathe, and I seek out things that bring me joy. I, in life in general, not just in that moment, support things like this, like what you're doing, like knowing that you're in the world, like this,
Aw.
but it's very helpful because you feel like you're alone. I look
Yes.
around me and I see people that are like laughing and having a great life, and it seems like nothing bothers them, and I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm feeling pain over it. But when you know that there are people out there that are really fighting for this, that you're not alone, and things like this, and trying to get this conversation out there, and trying to let people know that when they're going through these times, they're not by themselves. There are other people that came before them that also went through it, and will help them.
Yeah.
And talking and support, getting support from people that you love, and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
It's never easy. It doesn't get easy, but you have to learn how not, you have to take care of yourself. You have to not burn out. You have to not have compassion fatigue. That's very, very easy. Look what's happening to veterinarians and suicide rates, right?
Thanks for bringing that up. And yeah, I love, well, I like asking this question because I'm right there with you. A lot of nights not sleeping, just thinking in your head, poor animal is going through, this and
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
feeling, because we're so empathetic, and yeah. So I just want to know what else, what else I can do.
And you do a lot. You do a lot, but you also have to, I think, as I'm getting older, I'm seeing things I think a little bit more clearly. And you have to be able to take care of yourself, because if you don't, and it's everything we said about vet school, if you don't, then you can't be of service to anyone. You have to
Yes.
first take care of yourself, and then you can take care of others and have the strength to fight back.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes. Thank you for bringing that. We need
Yeah.
to take care of ourselves. And finally, who is your favorite animal to treat and why?
Oh my gosh. So I have a career working with dogs. So if I say anything other than dogs, I'm in trouble.
You're in trouble. Just say your secret. You wish dogs were.
You know what I did. This is an interesting question. I did a lot of time doing anesthesia, and as I said, I did an anesthesia residency, and I spent time with animals in a different way. I worked with, I anesthetized and recovered tigers, lions, camels, horses, of course, pigs more than any other animal, pigs more than dogs, um, alpacas, camels, like a chimpanzee at one point. And I was able to see the survival strategies in every one of them. Because think about how when they come out of anesthesia, like a prey animal, for example, they have to get on their feet, right? Because they can't look weak. And that's what you see with horses. They're up on their feet in an hour after having a major abdominal surgery, right? That would never be a human. That's a horse, right? So I look at them and I feel like I understand things about different species, but from a different perspective.
Yes.
I loved working with pigs.
I love your answer. And I
Yeah,
give
I love working with dogs. I'm more familiar with dogs than anybody else. I mean, of course I've spent more time, they've been in my house, they've been there to sleep with me, but, I became very close friends with a number of pigs.
that's
And I mean,
amazing.
they're just amazing, but I don't, and I want to say they're so smart, but even if they weren't, it doesn't matter because,
Yes.
we're not being compassionate to animals just because they're intellectually like worthy of it. We're being kind because they have a right to live and they have a right to not suffer, and every animal will suffer and every animal feels fear. So it doesn't matter if they're smart or not. But I will say that, pigs are, they're very, you can see they're scared. This is why, like I want to fight with people. I have to, there's a passion in me. Like I want to fight with people when they say like they can't give up bacon, because
Yeah.
how dare you?
Yes.
Because these animals are, they happen to be, and this is not just my opinion, the truth of the matter is from an IQ point of view, they are one of the smartest species. They're smarter than our dogs and our
Yes.
cats. And when they feel fear, it is very, very evident. And they do what you would do. They would do what I would do and your dog would do. And so when people dismiss them because they don't want to give up bacon, I want to just, and I
Yeah.
can't do that. I have to temper that down. Because of course, people have the luxury of choosing and not choosing, but I have to say that I love working with all animals, but I really did enjoy working with pigs. And one of the things I loved about pigs is from an anesthesia, when you do anesthesia on pigs, they have a very interesting larynx. So intubating them is very interesting, but also you put art lines and you put catheters in their ear veins. So it's really fun. It's actually a fun thing to work with them. So, and also because, they're amazing and they're very, very with you and cognizant of who you are and that you're trying to help them. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. So.
I love that you have that experience with pigs and that you can share it from a perspective of a veterinarian, because they are really not, not that it matters, smart,
Yeah.
but they have their personalities, and
But
that's so cool.
but I remember some of the students, like we had an amazing department. I was at the University of Tennessee and we had the most amazing doctor there that was working with pig sanctuary. And so we would get them coming in all the time because they need maintenance. They have like their teeth need to be filed down and their hoof care and all of that stuff. And I remember students saying, "Ooh, yummy." And they got in trouble. They got in a lot of trouble by the professor. But that was a very specific professor. He was a very kind, and he did not like that. He was not okay with that. And so, there are some really good people, but any student, I mean, a fourth year vet student looking at their patient saying, "Yummy," like that is horrifying. It's horrifying. So again, I think that education and having vegan programs and, getting them while they're young, getting
Yes.
them while they're going through it so that they can understand that, it's okay to feel. I think a lot of that is a defense mechanism. I think for a lot of people it is. But letting them know that there's really strong, kick-ass, badass people in this movement. It's not weakness, it's strength.
Yes.
And I think that's what you guys are doing.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. It was amazing to hear all your answers, and it was so interesting, and
I loved
it really
it.
gave me to think.
I love it. I love talking to you, and I love your organization, and I'm so proud of everything you're doing, Dr. Castillo.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm so proud and happy to have you as a friend. And I'm gonna move to questions. Let me see. What year? I don't know. Pareto principle, 80 to 20. If all activists focus their attention on outreaching to veterinarians, maybe we would. Oh, what year? I guess actually, let me see if she clarifies what year was she talking about, because
Shit
We will
rock.
have animal liberation faster because then vegetarians will all be little animal rights centers and people will hear about veganism from an authority figure who cares about animals.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Oh, veterinarians. I thought I said vegetarians, but anyway. Agree, and society is inclusive of non-human animals.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I don't like how it says animal resources from
Yeah,
the oath.
yeah, yeah.
It better be. I don't understand. It better be spelled. Pigs. Have you tried joining the American Association of Swine? Oh, have you tried joining the American Association of Swine Veterinarians
Well, I'm not working with swine anymore.
anymore? Okay.
This was a long time ago. This was when I was doing my residency during 2008 to 2011. And then I came out to California. Although I would love to work with them. I would love to work with them. I mean, rehab on a pig. I love it. I've done acupuncture before and laser and things like that. But I haven't joined. No. But I
just
consider it.
I just bring it up because I tried to join the American Association of Swine Veterinarians. I was denied, and they cited that I didn't have an abiding interest in swine medicine, even though I do. Like, I'm very passionate about pig welfare, and I treat pigs in my shelters and consult for sanctuaries and stuff, and want to learn more about pigs. And another veterinarian too, who is also very passionate and outspoken about ventilation shutdown, was also denied. And then after that, they shut down their membership portal for the year and would not let anybody join.
Oh boy.
So
yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's a part of the fight too, where it's animal production and, coming in with, and this is the fight, right? Like trying to, have people see pigs and cows and the food animals, and actually saying no, they are not food, they are deserving of respect and compassion and all of that. But I think that the political part of that is going to make it, as I'm sure make it very, very difficult. But during that time, the people that were involved were the one professor that I worked with. He was a very compassionate man, and he was very involved with swine medicine. But I wonder if they would, if after seeing this, probably not. But I wonder. Well, I wonder if they would. I might try just to see if they would.
Yeah, I think we should all continue to try to open the lines of communication, knowing that we might get shut down, but still, we are the bigger person. We are the adults in the room. We're extending the olive branch. We're trying to start a dialogue. And the fact that they're not willing to engage in professional dialogue is really telling.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I want to know, like, what advice do you have for vet students right now who there may be only like 1 or 2 vegan vets in a class? And I've talked to so many, they're all so scared. They don't want to speak out. They're seeing these horrifying things. And often they're even scared to tell me about the things that their schools are doing. They don't want us to write letters to their dean to ask them to change. They're so worried that they're going to get kicked out of that school or they're going to fail.
Yeah.
What do you say to students like that who are so scared right now?
It's a really, it's scary, it's valid. I think that, you have to be very cautious because, as you know, there's a lot of politics behind this. And I know a lot of people that did get thrown out. We need these doctors. We need these veterinarians as they go forward. And, we can't have them getting thrown out. I think that they should document everything and do it in a private, quiet way. I think that they need to, turn to organizations like Our Honor and other vegan vets. And hopefully there's a forum for that where you're developing this forum for that. It's not an easy process. It's trauma. And I don't know that there's any other than saying you're not alone and, feeling however you feel is totally fine. If there are, ways of talking to some people about it, maybe go to the head. But depending on where you are, I mean, I would have to know where they are, because it's going to be different depending on where they are. So, I don't want to tell them to do something that's going to get them thrown out. They have to be very cautious, but I would say document everything. Take pictures of it, because, if it ever comes down to it, if they decided to go forward, having, some documentation of it that nobody could refute, I think that that is really important. And I think that they need to turn to, other vegan vets. They're probably not at their school, but they are in the world.
Yes.
And also, as we were saying before, take care of your body. You have to be strong. You have to be sleeping. I mean, these are things that you could start going south because you're under so much stress. You're not sleeping well. You're not getting the right nutrients. I mean, that is important, and try to do things where you can take yourself away from that, even if it's some sort of meditation, something that resonates with whoever they are, dance. If put on disc. I mean, I used to put on disco music and just jump around and get it all out, and that would help me sometimes. Just try to lift your spirits and lift that vibration a little bit. It's not an easy answer. It's not going to go away, but at some point, remembering that they will be able to be in a position where one day they will be able to fight back with some power behind them, with a DVM behind their name. That's going to be, when they're finally able to get some traction. So
Yes.
yeah, it's tough.
I just want to read this quote real quick that I think really applies to the whole situation that many vet students are facing right now. And it's from Brene Brown. And she says, when the culture of any organization mandates that it is more important to protect the reputation of a system and those in power than it is to protect the basic human dignity of the individuals who serve that system or who are served by that system, you can be certain that shame is systemic, that money is driving ethics, and the accountability is all but dead. This is true in corporations, nonprofits, universities, governments, faith communities, schools, family, and sports programs. If you think back on any major scandal fueled by cover-ups, you'll see the same pattern. And the restitution and resolution of cover-ups almost always happens in the wilderness, when one person steps outside their bunker and speaks their truth.
Yes, right on. Yep.
Perfect. That was such a good question that you asked, Crystal. Thank you so much. And I love your answer. Honestly, I feel like you and I have such a common experience in veterinary medicine that if we spoke a little bit too hard, then we'll be kicked out. And for us, it was just I just want to get through it,
But the word shame came up, and that's something that's a really important word. You feeling and you being scared. It's you're made, the institution, the whole systemic part of it, they make you, at least I did feel this way, that you're ashamed. It makes you feel shamed for feeling like that, for
Yes.
not wanting to do it, for not wanting to participate, and what I would say to people that are going through it, do not feel shame, feel pride. That is very important. You're the sane one. You're the sane one. So, just as scary as it is, and, and it is not, it is painful. There is no easy answer here, but remember, where you're going and the difference that you're going to make in the world, and do not feel shame for having a heart and a soul. I mean, my God. So, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Keep on fighting for the animal.
That's right. That's right.
So let me see if we have any more questions.
I'll just make some announcements while you're doing that for anybody who's listening. I will be at the AVMA Veterinary Leadership Conference. So far, I'm the only vet that I know of who's vegan, who's going. And if anybody else is going who's vegan, please reach out. I would love to connect. And then there's also the AVMA Humane Ending Symposium at the end of January. Both of those are in Chicago, and we could really use some friends to like be there with us, you know, as we enter these very unfriendly places. It really helps to have at least, you know, a couple friends with you, and just we start talking about our truth and talking about the animals, centering all conversations back onto the animals. I think it's so important that we go into these spaces, even though it's very difficult.
Yes, I really hope you find company, Crystal. I'm sorry I can come with you this time, but it's really hard to like feel, you know, alone, especially in an event like that. You know, big conferences, and you know, you'll find somebody. I know.
Hope so.
Well, if we don't have anything, I don't have any more questions in the chat, and I wanna, you know, let go Dr. Voulgaris and everybody else on a Sunday. But I think it was lovely, and I really love having you. Thank you so much for everything that you do for the animals, and we really need to go get that, you know, meal together. Now I have like 1,000 more questions for sure that I can ask you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's my honor. Thank you.
Oh, okay, my friend. I really appreciate you and appreciate your time. And I will see you hopefully really soon.
Yes.
Thanks everybody for being here and for tuning with us. And we'll see you on the next episode with another vegan vet until I show you like thousands of them. Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, bye everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for coming.
It's a great
Bye.
privilege to hear you.
What?
Absolutely.
I felt like it was
It
a
was-
great privilege to be here and listen to you. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.